Hey everybody, it's been a while, but welcome back to another one of our live pitch deck reviews here on YouTube. So when we do these, one, I want to go ahead and thank, Chill and Innji here because it's not normally a safe, good thing to, put your deck out there in front of God and everybody on YouTube. But, I appreciate y'all stepping up and doing this. As always, Omar is here with us as well. Omar runs the pitch deck reviews that are on our Discord every week. And so the only other big announcement before we dive straight into Sticky Mayhem is we have announced today that Indie Game Business is going to be doing a pitch deck competition ahead of our February Indie Game Business conference. So on February 13th, we're going to by February 13th, we're going to put up, you can already go and sign up for this. Just look for me on LinkedIn or Tom. If you've got the link, go ahead and fire it in there. But everybody submit. We're going to pick 8 to 10 different finalists. We're going to do a live deck reading pitch presentation in front of publishers and investors. Those publishers and investors are going to vote on it. And the top 3 decks will have a best pitch deck, a best presentation, and a most anticipated game. Each one of those will win $1,000 courtesy of the Powell group. So if you're watching this, you're like, hey, I have a deck. Go and get signed up and submit your deck on our site or on our Discord, and we'll go from there. With that, Omar, first slide. I'm gonna let you start.
Hello. Just before I start, I'm the guys mentioned that they are doing this at 3 o'clock in the morning. And seriously, thank you. It will be probably 4 o'clock by the time we finish. The birds will be chirping.
Permission to take the day off tomorrow.
Yeah. So thank you for staying up late. We are all in different time zones, as you can see. Right. First slide. Before I jump into anything specific, I really like the logo. I think it's pretty cool. It's nice. The funny thing is, once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. The letter H looks like a giraffe. I don't know why. And once I see it, I can't unsee it now. It's like, and then the legs and the little head on the top. Anyway, that's just how my brain works. I like the logo. It's cool. What I will say is there's a lot going on here. And I think your choice of color for the background is making readability quite difficult. Because you've got skin tones, you've got brown armor, you've got rusty armor, you've got a lot of earthy colors, and then you've got an earthy background, and it's getting lost. And what your eye is drawn to is just this laser blast that's going across the center of the cover, or sorry, the key art. And it's just probably not doing its best to really kind of convey what's going on, in terms of the color. Funny thing is, I looked at your Steam page and a couple of other screenshots you've had before, and they are better when it comes to contrast. Even the thumbnail for your trailer, when you press play on it, it's really bright background. It's just boom, I can see all the individual dudes holding hands and joined together. Here it looks like it's not clear that they're a human pyramid. So yeah, I think those guys need to pop a bit more. And then there's just the typical stuff we say every time we see these decks. It's get your company logo in here. There's a fair few of you, bigger than most teams that we have on these reviews. So yeah, get a company logo in there, put it in one of the corners. I would remove the Steam page and gameplay video trailers, because what will happen is you send it to a scout. They'll open this document and then they'll click on the first slide and they'll be like, ooh, a trailer, ooh, a Steam page. They'll click on that and forget about your deck. Do not want that to happen. I always like putting these links at the end as actionables. And then there's just the typical stuff, put a little legal disclaimer on the bottom, say it's a private and confidential document. It's only for publishers and not for distributing without permission, etc. And I think that's it. Oh, yeah, the one-liner, the most important thing. I just need a little one-liner. Just tell me what's going on. I know you've got these dudes. I know there's some mayhem. I'm not getting the sticky bit, and that's something you'll need to explain in the one-liner, because otherwise it's what's sticky here? So yeah, that's everything I had to say, Jay.
No, it looks like I'm in for an easy day because that basically covers all of my stuff too. But absolutely, you're put your logo on there, remove those links, because Omar's right. First thing I saw was like, "Ooh, Steam page." Click, and you've just completely lost my ADD brain from the rest of the deck. So leave those two links for like the last slide. So you got something after you've explained to them what the game is, then they can go see more at the Steam page or whatever. But yeah, add your logo, put your disclaimers in there, and move those links to the end of the page or the end of the deck. Sorry. All right.
Your turn.
I like where you're going with the tagline. If Tabs, Polybridge, and Cats had a roguelike bastard child, the problem is a lot of these games are going to be focused on PC and console, and people may not even know what the Cats game is. So I would fine tune that a little bit. But the GIFs are a good intro, but they don't necessarily show you too much of what's going on. So I think there's probably still a little bit of explanation there. It's like when I look at your art on the side, I'm like, okay, I watched GIF one. You're sticking people together, maybe, but does their swords matter? Is there's a guy on lightning fire on there? I don't know where all that comes in. So I would definitely get rid of the GIF one, GIF two, GIF one, GIF two because you don't really need it. But yeah.
Cool. That was fast. Similar things. Yeah. First thing I had was don't use GIF one, GIF two. I think what you're trying to convey is you're building a human pyramid of warriors, which is on the left, and then you're leading them into battle. So you can just say like build battle underneath, and then just have the little statement on the top. So don't need to call that GIFs. Totally agree with what Jay's saying about these games. You also have to remember publishers whoever's reading the document will not always recognize these games. You're fortunate that Jay and I know these games. I imagine Jay does, or at least one from these three, right?
I mean, I know one of them, but I don't know Cats.
Yeah. So, well, the thing is, Cats. That's not how it's actually spelled. It's an acronym, so it's C.A.T.S. So if a publisher was to Google it, they wouldn't be able to find it based on how you've spelt it. You should just put hyperlinks in if you want people to know what these games are. So they just click on it and go straight to the game. Yeah, and then also you got to be careful because you're saying Cats mobile. You've not really called it out right at the start that this is a premium experience, or if it's a mobile kind of free-to-play experience. It's not clear, so I don't really know like what my expectations will be. Is are you expecting me to think this is a mobile game or a premium mobile game, or is it console indie, or are you pushing it and it's like Goat Simulator? It's kind of like pretty big for a physics-based game. I don't know. So yeah, I think yeah, you need to kind of address the games that you've referenced. I would personally put them into like a separate slide, which I call an X meets Y meets Z. We can talk about that. I would have that follow this. So you talk about what it is about Tabs that you're inspired by, or what you're referencing, what it is about Polybridge, and what it is about Cats. So that it's clear that it's a mix of this, and this to make Sticky Mayhem. Now, with all that said about the GIFs, I'm a big fan of just putting the trailer here. So you have an overview describing what the game is, and then you have your trailer embedded here. And that one slide shows me gameplay, shows me features, shows me everything, a little paragraph to put it all into context. And it's like, boom, you've sold me most of the vision before I've even had to do anything. So I'm a big fan of putting trailers in early. And I wouldn't have a slide dedicated to that. It's just like a waste of a slide. You got to remember, slides cost time, and you want to make sure the publisher is paying attention and every slide counts. So yeah, embed that trailer in here, expand on what this game is. The trailer that you have as well, we'll get to it. There's some cool little shout outs you make that you've not put here in the overview, but we can kind of get to it when we get to slide 3. And then yeah, I think there's one thing that bothers me a little bit, and I will ask you more about your concept, but I think a lot of these weird physics games don't really need an explanation for what they're about and why you're in this world. But there's no backstory. There's no, like, who are they and why are they doing this? Like, I had to look at the characters and I was like, there's like a Viking in there. There looks like a medieval soldier. There looks like a modern soldier. I was like, oh, they're from different time periods. Oh, that's cool. You're grabbing soldiers from all the different time periods and throwing them into a battle to see what happens. boom, that's a little bit of a story. Like portals have just appeared throughout history, and it's just plucking soldiers, and you're kind of throwing them into this kind of arena. That's all you need. Just explain to me why you've got these characters here. Why are they selected for this? Maybe it's there's a game that everyone's really excited for. I'm super excited for. I don't know if you've seen it, Jay. It's called Kingmakers. Have you seen it? Where you're a modern soldier, and you're like in medieval England, and there's like 1,000 soldiers running towards you, and you got a machine gun. It's like that's what kids think of when they're little. They're like, I have all these silly scenarios. So yeah, just add a bit of a description there, give it some context.
If I were to add one layout comment, and keep in mind, my slide decks look horrible. I'm much better on content than I am on layout. But building off what Omar said, where he says, okay, look, build on this slide, and then under the other one put battle. I think if you move these slides up in on the page, and then use that space under each one to give a 1-sentence explanation of what's going on for each one, it would actually do everything that you have going on. I mean, keep the focus on that. If tabs probably Bridge Cat's part, have that on there, but then just move the slides up and put a little short description under each one. I think you'll be fine, actually.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a bit where we're all quiet now.
Here's before we watch the video, and Omar may disagree with me, I would put this video before you did the other. I would put this video as slide 2. But
no, that's what I mean. So the slide.
Okay. All right. I thought you were saying do it later. All right. Hold on.
No. Put it on that slide instead of the GIFs. That's what I said.
Okay. I just want to say, I love the ghosts when they die.
Yeah, I really like that. It's one of those things you miss it the first time, and then I watched it.
I did, yeah. I saw it the second time. I was like, yeah, I really like that. I mean, aside from that, it's a trailer. It's not a bad trailer. It's good. I mean, there are still questions lingering in my head, after I watch it, but at least I know what's going on when I get to the slide that, is before this one that we're seeing move to the end of it. Omar?
Yeah. I think it's kind of like, you put it together with all the beats that you needed. The thing I mentioned before at the start, I said you had some good points in your trailer, which you could have put on the overview, where you called out like what you do. It's like craft a sticky army, lead them to battle. There's PvP, and there's upgrading. It's like, boom, that's interesting. Put that in at the start. It calls out what you're doing in the game. I do feel like the trailer's really long. I think after the first 10 seconds, you kind of feel like you know what the game is. And then it's just like, it's more of the same. The two opponents keep hitting and then they die. So I think what you want to do, maybe if you wanted to do a future edit, is, show the player building them in like 5 or 6 seconds, then 5 seconds of battling, and then maybe another 5 seconds of showing the different soldier types, like close-ups, like show these goofy characters, because at the moment, the camera is quite far out when they're battling, right? Just to keep them in frame. And you lose all that. You can't see the characters. And that's the thing about physics-based games or fumble core or whatever you want to call them. It's all about the characters and how they behave and how silly they look. If I can't see them and I can't really read what's happening, then I'm not really picking up on the humor and the goofiness. So, yeah, just think about adding them somewhere in the trailer. But yeah, I think what I would say is if you put this trailer on slide 2, then you can delete this slide because it's no longer needed. But with that said, I wouldn't delete it. I'd replace it. I'd put your X meets Y meets Z. Show me those 3 other games and why they're cool and what you're taking from them. Yeah.
Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yes, because I was supposed to go first on the last one, and you didn't let me go first. Okay.
Well, go first.
Okay, so I'm going to say the obvious. Call it a game loop. It's not presented as a loop. You've showed me phases, which implies that you do this, this, and this, and it ends. Rather than saying you do this, this, it comes back, and then you kind of repeat and you expand on what you did the first time. The one issue I really do have with game loops that only describe actions but don't explain why you want to go around again. So with this, I know you've mentioned, hey, phase 3, you upgrade, you get more soldiers, you get powers, you get weapons, you get health. The problem is that you haven't really explained like what it is I'm doing as a player to get to that point. Like what, do I unlock certain soldiers by completing certain quests or certain challenges? Like beat an opponent and take out 5 centurions with a rocket launcher. And it's like, oh, okay, if I do that, boom, then you unlock centurions. Or you unlock the bayonet weapon. If you do some melees. So there might be like things that you need to accomplish, objectives, which then unlock the rewards, which then drive you to get different soldier types, which then opens up more mechanics, which then feeds through. Without really explaining why the player would do that, it just feels just descriptive. So really think about what motivates players to move through your cycle. What are the incentives? What are the rewards? Because otherwise it just looks quite repetitive just on its own. And then there's an important thing. And it was something that wasn't obvious to me because I only read it right at the start. You've described this as a roguelike, but the more I look at it, I can't see what is roguelike about the game. And that's really important because I just saw this as just like a linear sandbox game, like a sandbox game, sandbox in terms of how you build, but you just fight and you just go up a ladder of fighting opponents and then you finish the game. But if it's roguelike, okay, how does that play out? Do I spawn in different environments each time? Are the opponents different each time? Will the game decide the modifiers? Do I pick cards which then decide my fate? I'm going into this world and I'm forced to have these 3 soldier types and these 4 soldier types and these gadgets which I didn't want but I'm stuck with. What persists, what doesn't? Like you need to describe the roguelike progression. Without that, it's just not reading at the moment. I don't know, Jay, if you feel that way about it as well.
Well, I mean, yeah, because you need it if you're going to do the roguelike thing, the classic Slay the Spire type map on it. You do need to show that on here somewhere because otherwise, yeah, you get the feel that this is just a whole bunch of one-off battles. The other thing that I would recommend as well is it appears to me from the deck and from the videos that your options for people to add to the pile on the left, they're different for a reason. They have a different weapon or a different power or something along those lines, but it's never actually, called out. And so understanding, is there something behind besides just an aesthetic choice to who you put on the vehicle? I would absolutely call that out as well because that's more stuff that you can unlock, and that's easy to it's easy to add new characters and new weapons, so you've got ongoing content after launch. But I would make that clear on the layout side, and this is what I see in a lot of these slides. There's a whole lot of empty graph paper. I would use that opportunity to tweak your art over here on the right so you can show off different characters, different options, different other things in the background of your deck. And that's going to, one, clear out a lot of that white space, but it's also going to save you slides. And y'all did good. Your deck is only like 12 slides. I mean, we get deck. I had somebody send me a 34 pager the other day, and I was like, no. But that way you can actually show off other parts of the game and art and weapons and different characters without having to add new slides. So that's the only thing from the aesthetic side.
Cool. Okay, you want to go?
Yeah. I mean, much the same here. Well, I mean, layout wise, you still got a whole lot of empty space. As for the content, this is a tough one for me because, like, just looking at the first one, the size and the shape of your pyramid, the weight and soldier and weapon, but it doesn't tell me what that does. It says it's applicable to the physics, but how? This needs to either be reworked completely in terms of what you're trying to say, or it needs to be clarified or shown clearer in the GIF or whatever. But that first one's not clear to me. The second one, polls. Okay, I've gone through this deck 3 or 4 times, and literally this is the first time that I've put together what you mean by the polls. Because I do have a slide down there that's got polls versus the other one that there's just people all over. But again, it's not clear. Are you talking about sticks? Are you talking about pieces of metal? Or are you talking about the population of Poland? It's not overly clear in there what you mean by polls and why you added them. You added them after some feedback. What was the feedback? And then modes, I mean, PvP sandbox single player. I mean, you could almost leave that out and put it in a bullet point at the end of the deck. This is, oh yeah, by the way, it's got multiplayer. But yeah, that's what I got. Omar?
Yeah, I had similar things, and also like with the polls thing, I was like, how do you explain it in like layman's terms? It's almost like you say, hey, polls are like the cement and the soldiers are like the bricks, and it's like you need the two to go together to build or whatever it is you're trying to make. So I think just try and frame it in a way that anyone who reads it can immediately get it. I will say before I jump into this, there's a slide that follows this, which is called your USPs. Usually with the ordering, I always like to start high level and then go down into the specifics. This is getting into the nitty gritty, but USPs is a little bit more high level. So I think after your core loop, you want to talk about what makes this special and then talk about the gameplay, like mechanics, which is what you're doing here. So there's like a couple of like even things like cool stuff in the game. I'm gonna say it sounds a little bit cheesy. I don't think you need to say that. Cool stuff in the game. I would rename it and just talk about like the features of your game, right? Or the gameplay mechanics, right? That's what you're talking about. Mechanics and elements that determine physics is a real mouthful. So just say physics-based world, right? And then you start talking about how those physics behave with what Jay said. So I had like examples here. I was like, frame these things in a way that makes sense and I can understand as a player that this would be fun to do. Like saying change the shape and size of the pyramid, it's like that's just something I do, but what's the payoff? So like for me, it would be like make builds and make strategic choices to attack or defend, figure out the best strategy, right? So for me, it's like balance and momentum. So I might want to put some heavy beefy guys, at the front who are going to absorb a lot of the arrows, but that makes it really top heavy and it falls forward. So like just put a couple of examples in saying, hey, you can use beefy soldiers, but you might topple over, or you can have lots of archers, but they're only good at long range attack. And then you're thinking about like battle systems and strategy, which is kind of like how people, when they play Clash Royale or they play other games where even the big strategic games like Total War, you're thinking about how you place troops, how you configure like an attack strategy. So yeah, think about what those scenarios could be and sum them up in a couple of like bullet points. Polls. It took me a while to figure it out that these matchsticks are like the skeleton and then you stick the dudes on them. I don't think you need to highlight modes. I'll be honest. You could put that in later, not right now. I think what you want to do is in the opener, it wasn't obvious, is this purely against AI or is it purely against other players or is it a mix of both? And you could have probably just mentioned that at the start of the game, the pitch, sorry. I would like to see more things here talking about, the battle system, the gadgets. Hey, you can unlock rockets to put on wheels that launch you, into like 100 feet in the air. You have boosters, you have springs, you have different tires for different terrain. Think about it that way. Your gifts are doing it, but I think the text isn't there to frame it and support it. So yeah, just give that a little bit more thought. Yeah, and also I agree with Jay. Like you need to kind of think about the soldiers that you use throughout the deck for artwork. I had a little idea. I was thinking if you've got soldiers from different time periods, you could have different physics dudes. Like one is Napoleon era, one is like medieval era. So each slide has its own visual theme with the same like different soldiers, but like configured to make different types of builds. And it could be like each slide you see a different build in the corner, and you're like, "Oh, that guy made a tall tower." And the next slide it's like, "Oh, we made like a battering ram." And then you start to think like the player, like, "Oh, these are really cool contraptions." So yeah, just make some quick mock-ups. I'm sure you can do it in game. Build them and then take screenshots and then just put them in here as PNGs.
One thing I just noticed sitting here, you could actually tell a lot of the story with this third slide over here. As I'm sitting here watching it, you actually see the strategy of a match come out.
Yeah.
They've gone backwards. That lowers the front. So you've got all the shields. They're, blocking all the laser shots. And then you move forward while they're reloading or whatever's going on there. And then you attack. So if you took that GIF and just put like quick little explanations in each an interstitial or even at the bottom of the screen, that one GIF could show a lot of explaining why everything is what it is.
Yeah.
Hold on, lost my mouse. There we go. All right. I'll open with my usual thing about USPs. USPs is a phrase that came around about 20 years ago when there were actually unique things in games.
Yeah.
They're not so much anymore. It's really, really hard to say we have something completely unique. And even if we're going with the human pyramid building and battle, okay, if it is the first time that's ever happened, why does it matter? What is that in and of itself such a selling point that it's going to move it? I don't think it is. I think you have things in here that are very interesting, but I don't know that just building a human pyramid makes it a USP. The physics based on humor, that's not necessarily unique. Because you called out tabs early in the deck, and that does the very same thing. PvP mode is that it's a mode. It's not a USP. So, when you're looking at this sort of stuff, it's one thing to say this is an inspiration. And that's what we see with a lot of decks. And a lot of times that's what we recommend is you have, you have tabs set up here with a logo or whatever. And then what did you take from tabs that makes this interesting? What is in tabs that is going to, what is in your game that's going to get people who played tabs to be interested in it? But you've got the inspiration part without really the inspiration. It's like, just because you link these games, but what does it mean? What did you take from it? What did you like from it? But yeah, that's it. I would remove the USP part. What USPs and because what you actually want is, okay, this is what makes my game different from the ones that are already in the genre or that we're using for inspiration. So I think overall you need a rework of this slide in the first place. Don't worry about the USPs as much. Worry about what part of these other games inspired you and why players that played those games are going to buy this one. That's all I got, Omar.
Yeah, it's a funny one. That I used to use USP so much, and over the years I started to realize that new products and new games and everything else in the world is just an evolution of what came before. It's a different mishmash or combination. I almost feel like they need to be called DSPs. And a word I use is distinctive selling point. What makes it stand out more rather than what makes it unique or different selling point. But yeah, I think I totally agree with Jay. I think this was before the call. I said to Jay, I was like, one of the issues I guess I have with the concept, I say issues, it's probably my concern is that if you're going to make this kind of game like Cats, you've got to make sure that if you've got these humans, they seem like they have a purpose rather than just being cosmetic treatments. Because if you took the humans away, what stops this from coming out as a game with still having the swords and the rockets and everything else? So for me, it was like, well, if I put humans in this game, what would I want them to do? And you know, you've got reference games in there like Polybridge. Polybridge is actually like a puzzle game, really. You're coming up with solutions, right, to overcome a gap, like to make a bridge, you know, a polygon-based bridge. So here, what if you said, hey, our game, it's PvP, but it's also got a campaign mode, and the campaign is challenges, kind of like a 3-star mode, like you play in a mobile game, like level 1, get 3 stars. And it's like, hey, there's an archer up in a tower really high up. How do we get to him? Because we haven't got an archer. Oh, I'll build a tower with humans. So you make a human ladder. And then one of them just like gets to the top and then, I don't know, hits him with a sword. So it's like, oh, I solved a puzzle. That way you're thinking about like, oh, if we're going to have these humans, they have a purpose. You know, they're reconfiguring themselves to support one another. You know, maybe there's a battle here. It's funny because you use the T-Rex as an example. The T-Rex has a moving arm and a hinged mouth. In the battles that you have in your game, what if you had one particular soldier who's able to hold 3 others and swing them? So then you're like, oh, when I approach another human pyramid, I trigger him and he swings 3 other people. So it's like, oh, okay, there's a reason to have him in my build. I always need to have one of those guys. Or if I have multiple, I could have multiple swinging. So think about it like that. What are those humans actually doing? What is their purpose? Rather than just being these kind of static dolls that don't really move. And that's the other thing. Ragdoll physics implies a lot of movement, a lot of kinetic energy, a lot of silliness. If I pick up a ragdoll, I've got loads of action figures and dolls in my house because of my kids. You throw them, they're like, flailing everywhere. In this game, no one's flailing. Like, I want to see the 2 human pyramids hit each other and then people flying off. I want to see it break. I want to see one of them scream and fly towards the camera going, ah! I want it to be playful and silly. That's where the humor comes from. So without those things, it lacks in that sense. And that's another problem you have. Because the camera's very far out, these little dudes are tiny. You can't see them being expressive. If they move, I can't see it. So think about, you know, how to make it fun. I remember back in the day, do you remember Worms, Jay? Team 17? Tiny little
Dude,
guy.
I remember the games that inspired Worms.
Yeah.
Fucking old, Omar.
But Worms, tiny little characters, but the way they got around that, so much charm with the sound effects, like with the explosions and characters like slow motion flying off screen, the camera zooming in. That was done like 25, 30 years ago. It's like, now, can you do that with this game? And, you know, I would love to see that. I want to see each of these soldiers have their own quirky personality. You know, so yeah, think about that a little bit more. The other thing I was also going to say is, PvP mode is not unique. If you're going to also cite or reference, hey, for example, a fan made a T-Rex shaped bridge on Polybridge that went viral. It's like, where are the numbers? How viral?
And it's not your game.
It's not your game.
No.
So it's like, okay, if and what are you doing that's going to compete against that? Because like I said, that's got moving components. I've not seen the moving components in yours. So that's probably one of the reasons why it went viral. Someone made it come to life and made it hinge like like a puppet. So yeah, think about that. If you're going to use that and claim that it went viral, show me the numbers. Show me how that had a big effect on the game, and you know how you're going to do something similar. So yeah, I've said a lot there. I have loads of little ideas and things, but I think the main takeaway is, think about what makes this different. Really make use of those little dudes. What are they doing? Why are they so special? Why do I need to play this game instead of cats? Which is very similar. Yeah. Okay, you want me to go first?
Go ahead. I think we're going to be on the same page with this one.
Yeah. I looked these up. So firstly, you've only got 3 games here. They're all quite different. These games are very old. Tabs is 6 years old. I think it's 2019. It was 2021 eventually came on Xbox, but I think it's a couple of years before PC. Polybridge is 13 years old. And then you've got a difficult game about climbing, which is very different compared to the other 2. I always feel like it's a different subgenre, so it's just not relevant. And then you haven't got enough of a breakdown in terms of like ROI. It's like, well, how much did it cost them to make? Which platforms did it come out on? You know, what was that ROI over 12 months versus lifetime? There's not enough information. These are just big numbers. but without much context or without any detail, it's like I don't know what to do with it. And the price points are wildly different. You've got a premium $20 game, and then you've got a much cheaper $10 game, which is aiming for a different demographic. And then it's kind of a little bit vague. I would personally add more recent examples from the last couple of years. There are a lot of games in the physics constructor builder space, loads of clones on mobile. So you've got to show me the ones that did well amongst the clones. The problem is the publishers should look at this and think, well, this is just going to get lost in the noise of all the other clones, and none of them have been breakthrough hits. Why is this any different? So that's going to be a big concern. And then I think this is the thing that Jay and I, the more I talk about it, like over the years, we've done this now, a couple of years, I'm like, I don't want to see these analysis sheets. I say it to developers, I'm like, you do it because of due diligence. You need to prove to a publisher that you could do research, you could find numbers. And then the publisher is going to look at this and say, this is fantastic. And then rip it up and throw it away and then do their own research. I like to see the XY kind of diagrams, which show me where it sits in the market of like, hey, these are games that did well. This is why we've carved a niche. This is where we sit. Show me a spectrum of games and where yours sits. So it's like an XY. You can find them online, and you can have your own things to define, the criteria for how you measure them. I feel like those are more valuable, even though they don't have actual data on them, because it shows me that, yes, you're not researchers, but you're thinking with market potential in mind. And the publisher's going to do all this research anyway. So, yeah.
The rule that I tell everyone, and it's even what we do in-house when we're evaluating projects, don't reference a game that's more than 2 years old. 2 years in this industry is a millennia when it comes to sales data and everything else. Even when you do that, you want to maintain congruity between what you've used as examples throughout the deck and what you're using as your analysis. And I agree with Omar. I used to feel the wrong way. I mean, the other way, I was like, oh, these are good because it shows you did the research. I'm past that now at this point. That XY is exactly what you need because it not only shows where you fall in that graph. Omar's right. The publisher's going to do their own research anyway, but the XY graph gives me as the scout or the publisher a good idea of where you perceive your game to fall.
Yes.
Because a lot of times it won't be entirely accurate, but that gives, the publisher or the marketing team, that your producer, whatever, an idea says, look, I understand you feel it should fall like here on the XY, but you need to add this or tweak this or do something else like that. That is a very good exercise. But again, don't use anything that's more than 2 years old. And whatever you're using for your analysis needs to be the same stuff that you've used throughout the rest of your deck. You don't want to come in and reference 2 or 3 games, and then on this slide, all of a sudden there's like 4 or 5 more games that you've never even talked about. That's not what you want. Which does mean, you can't really. You can say you were expired by tabs and Polybridge, but when it comes to, the actual features in that USB page and all that stuff, it needs to be, congruent in more recent titles. The only other thing, again, ton of white space and grid work on this slide. And you say all data taken from GA. I know what that is. Honestly, a lot of people aren't going to know. And that's kind of what you have to have in the back of your mind when you're doing this. The scouts and the frontline people that you meet at conferences and that sort of, they are well gamed. Is that a thing? It's like well read, but you're gamed. Are we well gamed? They know what GA is. Not everybody else is. So always when you're going to reference something like this, put a link to the website. That way they can, for the folks that don't know what it is, they'll click on it and go, oh, okay, yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, otherwise.
Cool. Okay.
All right. But the one thing that jumps out at me on this, no one's going to pay for your lawyer. If the publisher's paying for your lawyer, it's their lawyer, not yours.
Yeah.
So, take that part out or, disguise it in something else, but don't call out the fact that you need $5,000 for a lawyer because that's just not, then you've also told the publisher you have no lawyer. So you don't want that either from a contract negotiation standpoint or just a leverage standpoint. I'm only saying this because your budget milestones are very similar. You've got 80K, 80K, 45K, 45K. Nowhere down here at the bottom, you're lining that up like a math equation, but there's no answer. The answer is over here in the corner where it says production is 250K plus 5K for the lawyer fee. I prefer that you say a timeline of 24 months to have that drawn out. The other question it brings to me is this is not, like a JRPG. This is not some big scoped game. Why is it 24 months? As the scout, as the publisher, I'm going to look at the game, I'm going to look at the time frame, and I'm going to be like, okay, y'all aren't working on this full time. And whether you are or not, that's the perception. Because 24 months seems like a very long time to create a game like this. And that's a question that you're going to have to answer. Yep. But I would have this deck laid out more. This slide laid out more linearly, like a line. I don't know if I got that word right. I can't
laterally?
Laterally works too. We'll go with laterally. That way you can see, okay, here's the milestones on a, time chart. And this is how much we need for each one. Or you can just simply put in your burn rate, as well. It doesn't, given the things that you've got laid out with, 1 being all levels, 2 being PvP and upgrades, 3 bug fixes, 4 bug fixes, none of those are specific enough milestones that it matters. You can get away with a much simpler version of this slide, but make it clear why it's going to take 24 months to get this done with 11 people and take out your lawyer fee.
Yeah, everything that Jay said is almost exactly what I've got here. There were a couple of things I did pick up on. So I don't think this should be a timeline and a budget slide. I think this just needs to be just a timeline slide. Just show me the production roadmap. Show me horizontally, alpha, beta, gold master, post-launch, whatever it is. Show me that breakdown over 2 years. I totally agree with Jay. Now, when a scout looks at this, they're not just looking at, this game and the cost of this game. They're also thinking, I've seen 150 games like this already, which cost half as much. Why does this cost twice as much? So that there's going to be comparisons they're making to other games in their pipeline. So you just got to be prepared for those questions. It's very expensive. And also, I don't know exactly where you guys are based, but, Western developers get a general idea of like the differences between budgets and, day rates and salaries and your expenses in different parts of the world. And they compare it to what they have here. And it's like, well, you're in this part of the world. We know that when we work with our suppliers, our contractors, etc., we kind of work with these rates. Why is this the same, or more than what we would get here? So there's a lot of questions, basically. I won't go into the nitty-gritty, but just be prepared for that. Lawyer fee, get rid of lawyer. Don't need it in there. And then there was another thing I noticed. You said full access. Number 3, where you've got the colored boxes, it says bug fixes and full access, 4 months. Full access, I was confused. I was like, do you mean the game already launches before that point and it's an early access? What do you mean by full access? I guess a question for you guys. I don't know if you can answer. Chill, Innji?
Well, which one are you talking about? The
Number three. Number 3 with the green box. It says bug fixes and full access, 4 months. What does full access mean?
No, basically what we meant was the game launch, the 1.0 launch.
Right. Okay. It was just the way it's phrased is quite unusual. I don't normally see that, like full access. And I see the word access. I usually can kind of pair it with early access and different versions of early access. So I'm like, oh, this game's going to have a pre-launch state. But if you're not going to launch it that way, it's just a premium kind of box product. It's like we work on it, do a bit of beta testing, and then it's out. Just need to rephrase that. So I just say like just RC release candidate or Goldmaster. That's how you want to phrase it. The other thing I was also going to say is bug fixes and upgrades in number 4. So the upgrades, do you mean post-launch content like DLC? Or yeah. Okay, so change that. Don't call it upgrades because that's language you would use for the game itself, like character upgrades. What you want to say is DLC or post-launch content.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hey, so
Cool.
just
Oh, yeah.
one quick thing. So you said that the timeline 24 months was a lot, right? So the way we have written is till we get to 1.0 launch, we will ideally fix it in 20 months. And after that, from what we understood, like for the next 4 to 5 months, we are expected to maintain the game. So that's why we added that, and we added it as 24 months. But the ideal time frame is 20 months.
That's why you need to lay this out in a different format because that's not clear.
Right.
I mean, I can tell you from the stuff that we're looking at right now, for a game like this, I'm going to expect it to be, if it's 250K, I want to see a 1.0 launch in about 9 months because the danger that you run into is, you have a somewhat unique, you have a niche game. If you take 24 months to get it ready, not because someone's going to steal your idea, but the market changes like that quickly. That's why you don't use anything that's more than 2 years old as a reference.
Yeah.
So I would want to see this at least to be ready for early access much sooner than this, but clarifying what you mean by the 24 months timeline is exactly why you need to lay it out in an honest to God timeline to make that clear.
Yeah. And also something else, it just occurred to me now, but I looked at it before. 6 to 8 hours of playtime is a proper campaign. The pitch deck doesn't imply that the game has that kind of campaign. I'm not saying 6 to 8 hours multiplayer. We can't measure that. We won't know, right? Unless you have some kind of progression system for multiplayer which supports that. But if that's the campaign, you need to show in your deck, like, what is it that a player's doing? What is, is there a story of some sorts? Are they going through different time periods and collecting soldiers from different parts of history? There's little cutscenes. It's a $250,000 game. I expect more, right? So, yeah. And then there's the other thing that's missing, platforms. Like I said it right at the start. I was like, I don't know if this is a premium game for mobile. It's a free-to-play game. Is it like an indie game? Is it, or how high are you going, right? I don't know. So, if this is just PC, it's very expensive. If this includes some porting you'll do yourself, okay, it's a bit more reasonable, but still a lot. So you need to make clear what you're able to do and what you need help with. Cool. Okay. This is an easy one for me. This shouldn't be this early. It should be right near the end. After you've asked me for money and you've shown me the game and you've worked out the budget and everything, this should be the one slide before you sign off with your email. So I think it's a little bit early. I also don't think you need to put everyone in the team here. What it means is, well, you've got lots of faces, which is cool. I don't know who's doing exactly what on the project because you've not given me bios. So I feel like the more I do these now, and Jay made this really good point, like when we first started doing this, it's nice to see leads on the project. It's not to discredit other people on the team. I want to see the vision keepers, the people that the publisher is going to talk to on a daily basis before the contracts are signed, and then they start to talk to specific people. So, if there's 2 or 3 of you, maybe I just need to see you 3, and you can just put like a little bubble saying, hey, and by the way, there is more of a team here, plus 3 freelancers. It's like, great, you've mentioned them, but I need to see who are the key people. I want to see who's the head programmer, who's the head of design, and who's doing marketing or whatever it is, what other role there is in the company. So yeah, do that. And then what it does is it gives you more empty space to talk about you as a studio, like a paragraph at the top saying, hey, we're from this studio. You said meet the team. I'm not seeing your company name here, and I've already forgotten. So it's like, okay, where are you based? How long have you been going? What are you about? Like, what kind of games do you want to make? Where do you want to be? What is your goal? And why is this game being made? Just tell me a little story. That's it. That's a little paragraph on the top. And sometimes, if people can squeeze it in, put some little graphics on the bottom, just showing me projects or clients you've worked with. And that can all be summarized in a team slide. Believe me or not, honestly, you can do it. It's hard, but it can be done. Yeah.
You're generally safe just having the leads on there because, like what Omar says, that's all you need because the rest, I hate to say, like in the world of AI, it's great that you have, 11 photos here, but without links to their backstory, it really doesn't add anything. I could go tell ChatGPT to generate me a bunch of photos and get it there. I think this space would be much, better spent saying, here's our leads, and here is their track record. This is what they've worked on. And I say this every time. And even if this is everybody's first game, go ahead and own it. Call it out. And because you've got publishers that absolutely love working with new teams, and you've got other publishers who are like, I'm not hand-holding these people, So, but you're better off just, using that space, having your leads, a little bio about each one, and then game logos that they've worked on, if there are any. Now, the other random thing that just popped into my head as well, I've been saying use a lot of this white space to show off some more of your art. And then I'm realizing that almost every slide has somebody with a sword or a shield and a spear or a spear. Yeah. But in the GIFs, you're showing me lasers and flying, punching, boxing gloves and all that other kind of stuff. Vary it up. Yeah. Make sure that you're showing different parts of your game and different aspects of it and different art styles or characters or whatever, not slide after slide of a bunch of dudes with spears and swords when your game is more than just spears and swords. All right, hold on. There we go. Had to find my cursor. Okay. Omar or me?
I don't know. Did I start before? But I can just quickly jump in on this.
I'll say blunt. I think this slide is unneeded. Yeah. You can, everything that you're trying to say here, you can say on that other slide if you're, broken down. If you want to put a budget pie chart, on the, we're talking about that timeline slide with the budget in there. You want to do a budget pie chart on that? That's fine. But you don't need an entire slide of this. And saying that they have 8 years experience and 4 years experience, that's fine. But 8 years of experience doing what? If you tell me, as an example, that your CTO has 8 years of experience, but that 8 years of experience is being a CTO on a mobile game and you're creating a PC console game, or is it a tech company that was making web apps or something like that? And then you tell me that you've got another CTO option that has 1 year of experience, but they shipped, a game or two. That's the CTO I want, not the one that has a lot of expertise, but it's not necessarily relevant to the game that you're doing. So years of experience is much less of a concern than what they've actually done with that. But overall, I think you can nuke this whole slide and incorporate the data that needs to be incorporated on another one.
Yeah, I know. I think just to add to that, I think usually these slides, the budget ones, I've gotten into the habit of turning it into the budget and the ask, because it's like those two things go hand in hand. So if you can make the pie chart on one side and show me a percentage breakdown of this is how much is going into design, and this is how much is going into programming, how much is going into marketing, etc., whatever. Here's a miscellaneous costs, I don't know, rent, hardware, software, etc. That summarized pie chart is all I need. And then on the left, you just say, we need $255,000 funding. We need marketing support. We need localization QA. We need porting for these platforms. By the way, we are going to do this platform. We need the other three from, a porting house. That's it. I love seeing them like that. You can get it on the left-hand side, your ask, and on the right-hand side, a high-level breakdown. Now, a publisher will at some point say to you, how did you get to that pie chart? Show me the Excel sheet with all your calculations and your wage costs and everything. It's like, great, I'll put a little hyperlink here. You click on that and it'll take you to the Excel sheet. That I'm a big fan of that now. That's what I just tell everyone to do.
Yeah, it does.
And it just works. So yeah, totally agree with Jay. There's too much information here. You don't also... Another thing, I'm not a big fan of when people put multiplication in for like, hey, this salary times this many years. I'm like, don't make me do math. Don't make me do calculations.
Don't make me check your work.
Don't make me check your work. Just give me a final number. So yeah, just be mindful of that. I think this goes to everybody who's watching right now. Yeah, and also this is the thing I was saying before. You had your team slide, and now you've gone back into money. It's like this should have just come straight after the timeline. So it's like, hey, here's the roadmap. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how much it's going to cost, and here's the amazing team that's going to deliver it.
And just final thoughts. You don't need to put everybody's salary. Honest to God, nobody cares. It's like, what's your total budget? That's what they care. As long as you're paying your people enough that they don't leave mid-project, the publisher doesn't really care what it is. And then check your words. You got a typo down here, and I know English is second language, but I'm an English major, and these things jump out to me. Yeah. So just take out the R.
Mm-hmm. And all right. Other thing, you said publishers don't care. They will care if it's 250,000 and there's two people.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, cool. Oh yeah, so I think all this could have just been summarized on the team slide with the little icons, and if you have those icons click to the games, great, because nobody reads words. People look at pretty pictures. If you had an image, an icon of your app game for Arena of Tanks, there's a tank with little. I'll click on that. Wow, they made an action tank game. They understand how to make battle games. It's like Transformation 3D. They can make 3D games. Show me that. So yeah, you can lose this slide if you can just get a couple of thumbnails in for the games that you've worked on.
And when you do it, make sure that you note what format, what platform these were on, because these read to me like a lot of mobile games.
They are mostly mobile games.
I think you're shooting for a PC console game with what you've got. So yes, don't take them out. Leave them in there. Shipping a game is shipping a game. But you do need to clarify, what, and maybe is there, oh, okay, yeah, these things do link. I'm not going to do that. I'm afraid.
Oh, these do. But I was thinking if there were images that link,
yeah,
even better, right?
Images are, in general, if you can convey the same information with an image that you can with text, always choose the image, because one, it'll brighten up your deck and, get rid of some of this grid space. And two, it's just instantly recognizable. And otherwise, you don't want to make people read, especially scouts and publishers. So if you can cover this, then yeah, just do it. Just do the logos and the platforms. I think we only have, okay. So before we go to this is the last slide. What we've seen here as we've gone through this is there's 2 or 3 slides that you can completely remove. You've got a 12 slide deck, which is a good size, but by taking these slides out and condensing some of these other slides, it gives you a few more slides that you can go into a little more detail on, what 6 to 8 hours of gameplay means. Is there a, like Omar said, is there like a
challenge mode, campaign mode, whatever it is?
Show the map, go into more detail on why you have different characters that you're sticking to that and why the polls make a difference. You can
the roguelike progression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you take and condense these slides that we've said, okay, merge or get rid of, it gives you a few more options. Where there we go. Contact info. This is what I say all the time. If you have a website, which you should, don't use a Gmail account. No one's going to throw your game out the window if it says a Gmail account, but it looks much more professional to say, hey, contact me at chilloutgamestudio.com or whatever the URL will be. And then, your Steam page and logo here. We are seeing, look, we have wheels that are seeing on the side, but still you've got so many people in this art segment that are spears and swords and everything like that. But yeah, that's all I got. Omar?
Yeah, same. I picked up on the Gmail thing as well. Totally agree. Like, no shame in having a Gmail account. I use a Gmail.
No.
But it's like, if you've got a company established and it doesn't take much effort to get an email with that domain, then it's like, do it. And then also, don't just put names in a contact. I want to know who it is. Who is the main contact person? If you put 2 here, I don't know if they're going to go to different people. I'd like to talk to one person. I always dislike it. Like when I used to get the contact us at whatevercompany.com, and that would just always freak me out because I'm like, okay, I'm writing an email to say hi there rather than addressing anyone by name. It's like, is this going to go to the intern or is this going to go to the CEO? I don't know. So I would love to know who that individual is, and it's the creative director, the vision keeper of the game, the person running the studio. Put their face there under the email. The other thing, if you've got it, put it in there, which is your socials. If you've got a Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, put them in there. Your numbers might be low, but it shows that you're starting to plant the seeds for them to grow over time. And it also shows that the publisher's like, oh, okay, they have an audience that they're starting to engage with. We can just kind of inject that with our marketing, know-how. Or they might look at it and say, this isn't very good. We're gonna do a pass on this, and we'll relaunch you, rebrand you, whatever it is. So yeah, try and put that in. It just shows that you're actually thinking outside of just, a bunch of developers on Zoom talking about their game, but being aware of the greater world outside that bubble. So yeah, make sure you do that. And yeah, the calls to action. I don't think you need the gameplay video here. I think you should take that out because you've got a trailer, right? I think you should just make the Steam page like click here to play the demo. If you've got a demo, right? Play now, or really emphasize the Steam page. Click on that and you go straight to the Steam page. So make it actionable. And that's it. That's what I have to say.
All right. So, I mean, we're not doing feedback and questions from the audience, but from you two, this is your shot. What questions do you all have?
Yeah, one of my questions was, you said the budget sounds a little bit too high, the 250K. In your mind, what would have been the ideal budget?
I hate it when developers ask me that because I know that it feels too high, but I don't know a specific number to say, oh, it's got to be half that. What I will say is that I always compare it to other games that I've looked at or we've signed, which have that budget, and they are very premium. They are much bigger scope. They have world building. They have a bit of character development. They have cutscenes. They have different environments. They move through different locations. They have more modes. They have more depth. There's a lot there that I would expect for a game that's going to cost $250,000 in terms of the visual fidelity. Like we talk about ragdoll physics, right? I'm not really seeing a lot of that there at the moment. So it's like, how limited is your physics system? Like, how much flexibility is there? How elaborate is that building system? Because we saw characters stick together, but it wasn't clear. And then there's production values, and it's still that visual fidelity I talk about, but graphics. The environments are very static. What if there was some destructibility there? And they're brighter environments, different locations. There's weather, there's lava, there's water, there's mud. All these things affect your traction and ability to fight. There's a lot. So, yeah, it's hard to say what the exact number would be, but I will say that I've seen games with a 250K budget that aim to deliver in 12 months, and teams are a bit smaller, but they're about the same size, and they are building to one or two platforms at least, which just gives you an idea of what can you get. And the sad thing is, I mean, Jay, you can back me up on this, or we agree on this, is that we're in a different phase right now in the games industry where, compared to where we were 2 years ago, those budgets have changed now. Publishers expect more for less, which is
where
really
we were 4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, the industry was in the same shithole it's in right now.
Yeah,
so it doesn't really change.
Yeah, you're right. 4 years ago, actually, that was the number we were working with when we started as well. But yeah, you can't forget time, loose sense of time. But yeah, things have changed. So publishers want more for less, and developers have to deliver more for less.
Don't think of it in terms of what the publishers want. Think of it in terms of what you're competing against.
Yeah.
And a 250K budget isn't crazy as long as you can justify it.
Yes.
So the takeaway here is what you've shown us in the pitch deck doesn't click on our wheels of something that would justify tying up $250,000 worth of publisher money for at least 2.5 years, because assuming it launches, and I remember, it's not, you don't necessarily need 24 years to launch full time, but just for numbers sake, 24 months is when it launches and we're not going to, you know, I as the publisher or the investor, I'm not going to get my money back until at least 6 months after that. And so when I sit down in my green light meeting, I'm like, okay, here's this game that is going to be single platform, PC only. It's going to take 18 months, 24 months to get out the door, and I got to spend $250,000 on it. Or here's another one that I can spend $150,000 on. It's going to be ready to go in 9 months. And when we did our internal sales projections, they're roughly the same. I'm taking that one that's going to be sooner because it gets my money back to me quicker that I can reinvest. So if you go down the route of thinking, okay, we have to pitch this based on what we think the publisher wants, you're never going to succeed. You just need to pitch the game that you want to make and give the budget, but realize that you're literally going against the entire world when it comes to developers. There's a lot of talk, and I'm going to say something that might be a little bit, I won't say controversial. I'm going to say something that a lot of people agree with me on. There's a lot of talk about how publishers are picking up less and less and less games. While that may be true, I don't think that's the whole problem. I think there's enough really good games coming from developers right now that there aren't enough publishers to support them. And so that's what you have to keep in mind. It's like, what else has these guys seen over the last week? So yeah, 250 grand may not be a bad budget, but you need to justify it. And what we see in this deck wouldn't justify it. So you just need to work on that part.
Yeah. And another thing I want to add, it's not always the case. Some decks I've seen where it's really nicely presented, they'll have the roadmap and then they'll have a slide after, which is just like features breakdown. And they'll have like little fill meters saying, you know, we've got core systems in, we've got these modes in. Then they might have things that we're like, we're unsure. We want to put this in, but we want to talk to a publisher about it because it will increase the budget. Or our budget is for this core experience, and we just adding these additional things would make it a more complete experience. What I'm not saying is to pitch two different budgets. I hate it.
Oh God, no, don't do that.
We don't like that. What you want to say is, look, we have a vision in mind, but we're being totally transparent. We'd love to put more into the experience, but this is what we can build with the budget we have. Give us a little bit more, we can get the rest in, and it'll feel like a full, complete experience. Not always the case. It depends on the game. I usually find that suits bigger games, more, you know, features wide games like 4X games, for example, strategy games, things like that are systems heavy. Probably doesn't apply to this, but I'm just saying that for the people who are listening and watching the video.
Anything else, guys?
Just one last question. You might have touched on this, but I probably missed it. Specifically, when we spoke about, sorry, give me a second.
It's also 4 a.m. in the morning for these guys now.
We'll forgive you for not having all your thoughts together.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm so impressed that you guys have been able to pay attention and not yawned once, because I didn't see you yawn.
No, so slide 5, when you specifically spoke about like it was too wordy and the points were not getting across well. I think one of the points you said was try to give more examples, if I'm right. And what you meant was, like, for example, like there are a couple of soldiers where the weightage is higher, the physical weight of the soldier is higher, so that impacts the pyramid. Some of them, they might not be able to hold a specific weapon. Some of them have better health. Is that what you meant when you said like try to mention different strategies?
Yeah, so I said that, but I think Jay summed it up quite nicely, where if you had a little storyboard, you know, if you had 3 or 4 images or that kind of flowed through and demonstrated those key features, like that one example I give, you don't have to tick all the boxes of all the examples. That's impossible.
I was talking about that GIF. Hold on.
Yeah, the alternative GDD. You need to just sell it, right, and say you build
this GIF in the bottom right.
Yeah, that could be split up, like Jay suggested. Like, hey, you know, weight and momentum, you know, it affects stability and speed and control. It's like, oh, okay. And what affects that? It's like heavy soldiers and where you fortify them, on the front or the back. It's like having a car that you know, a truck, pickup truck. It's like you've got to load it up with stuff. You put it all on the roof. You put some stuff on the front. You know, if you can put a tire on the front, on the hood or bonnet, or in the back, it's like, what happens? Those handling characteristics change, right? So give things context is what I was getting at without making it too wordy.
I'm a little worried that you're hiding your tire in your pickup truck in your engine and how you're fitting that. And
No, on the hood. Say hood, see, on the bonnet. You can get like Land Rover Defenders with the tire on the hood. You can get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Have you not played the Snow Runner? Awesome game. And Mud Runner, really, really good. You can do that.
anything else, guys, or you want us to let you go to bed?
That's pretty much it from us.
And
All
they'll
right.
forget all of this when they wake up because it's 4 a.m.
Watch it again. It's on YouTube, and absolutely feel free to submit it again to like the Discord ones that we do every week. Omar doesn't know this, but we're going to be doing more of those next year. I'll explain that to him later. But
I know. I saw the messages.
Oh, okay. But yeah, again, thank you for being brave enough and confident enough to put your deck out here in front of God and everybody on YouTube, and even more so for being up at 4 a.m. to do that, because that's impressive. But yeah, with that, everyone, we do these at least once a month. We try to get one of these ones.
We try to. I will admit, people who tune in regularly, we apologize for the last couple of months, but we work in the games industry where sometimes we're super busy, and it was just like the rush period, Gamescom and everything after that.
I basically lived in an airport this year.
Yeah, I've been traveling a lot.
And so keep that in mind. Submit there. Don't forget, going up with our conference in February, we are going to be doing that pitch competition, 3 $1,000 prizes. Go to our Discord, discord.gg/indiegamebusiness for all the details and the submittal links and all that kind of good stuff. And that's it. All good. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you on Friday for the actual podcast.
Cool, thank you. My face is obscured. Bye-bye.
Take care.